Good evening here from Israel. I'm here to give you my summary of my second day in my own personal trial of wearing a continuous glucose monitor. I'm doing this first as part of a research for a project that me and my colleague Graham Phillips are doing, but also because I sometimes recommend to my clients, like especially the ones who are pre-diabetic or diabetic, to try a CGM that will help them. It's not, it's more of a metabolic thing. Like there are certain foods, I don't care how much they raise my blood sugar or insulin, spike my blood sugar or not. If I'm addicted to them, I'm not going to eat them. But on the other hand, the foods that I do eat, I am very interested to know if there are any foods that I'm eating that are spiking my glucose more than they should be. So, and also, like if I'm recommending it to clients, I want to experience it myself. It gives me so much more insight into what I recommend to them. So today is my second day. And what I'm happy to say, and I did a couple of tests today. I was actually going to do one, and I did two, not on purpose, but it was something that so happens to me sometimes, right? What happened is where first of all, what I did was I ate in the morning roasted chickpeas, which I buy like roasted and salted. It's not something that I eat very often, but once in a while when I get stuck, I do, or I'll have it as a snack. Sometimes I'll eat more than maybe I should. So I actually on purpose like took a bigger portion because I wanted to see what happens to my blood sugar. And it did raise it like more than, let's say, the rest of the day, but it was still like, if I'll look at the logbook, you see, I'm looking at the logbook of my phone, and what you can see is where was it? Yeah, at like 10:38, and like a half hour or 40 minutes after I ate it, like my blood like went up to 121, which is still well within the normal range where like I would, if I would see something more, even though like here on the app for my CGM, I'm using a Libra. They put 180 as like the higher range. If I would see a food that was raising my insulin more than 150, I would probably be very, very wary of it or maybe take it off my food plan. But I was happy to see that this, even though this is pretty carby food, as far as I'm concerned, like from the food that I usually eat, like I won't usually eat dried roasted. I'll use, if I do eat chickpeas, and I do, I'll usually eat them whole, or as part of like our hummus or something like that. So it was actually kind of cool to see that it doesn't raise my insulin that much, even though I did have a bigger portion. And the other thing that happened to me today was something that sometimes happens. I was going to Jerusalem to visit my grandchildren, and the foods that my daughter-in-law and son eat aren't so much the typical foods that I eat. They go more towards the carbohydrates and breads, and I go more towards the proteins. So I usually bring my supper with me, and I had my supper in a nice container in my bag, and I went to visit my parents on the way, and I took the box out and put it in the fridge and left it in the fridge, and I didn't have my supper with me in Jerusalem. So I went and bought some deli. It's like a carnatzel, or like a kind of like a sort of like a sausage type of thing, which is also like, it's not great, it's processed food, but for me that's, let's say, what I would call a situation that's harm reduction, right? Because if I buy this kind of sausage that I know is low carb, and even though it is quite processed, it's not going to trigger me into this uncontrolled eating like I would if I would get, I don't know, like a sandwich or something like that, which I wouldn't get because I don't eat sugar and flour. But so I had them. So then it was even more, I was really curious to see what would happen with with these sausages. And I'm happy to say that these also did not actually spike my glucose that much. Let's say if it was like the highest when I went up to was 118, like about an hour after I ate it, and then it went right back down to like 84, and now I'm at 97. And if you're going to look at the graph, and this is really cool, I'll show you my daily graph. Hold on. See, like my daily graph is very nicely in the range. And that's for yesterday was pretty similar. I'll show you yesterday. Well, so I'm actually like, I feel like this is really good because it's giving me good information because I don't have to wonder, like, is this food too carbohydrate for my personal reaction to it or not? So I'm actually really liking this. I'm like taking multiple measurements just because this is a trial. So, especially for the first week or for the first 2 weeks, I'm definitely going to be wanting to see my levels over the course of many times because I want to see what foods, what situations are making, and how different foods and different situations and different days, maybe even different stressors that I'm having, right? Are they affecting my blood sugar and how much? So, this is the summary from my second day. So far, so good. You can keep following to find out what happens. Bye bye. Good night.